Since the dawn of time, humanity has sought meaning in its struggles. From ancient myths to modern philosophy, we have questioned our purpose, our fate, and our ability to defy the forces beyond our control. Few stories capture this eternal struggle more profoundly than the myth of Sisyphus. A cunning king, a trickster of the gods, and a soul condemned to an eternity of struggle. Sisyphus's tale is one of defiance, punishment, and ultimately, an unbreakable will. But what if his endless suffering is not a curse but a choice? What if, within the absurdity of his fate, lies the ultimate freedom? Join us as we unravel the legend of Sisyphus, from the myths of ancient Greece to the existential philosophy of Albert Camus. And by the end, you may just find yourself questioning your own journey through life. The myth of Sisyphus, a tale of defiance, punishment, and the human condition. The myth of Sisyphus is one of the most enduring stories in Greek mythology. It is a tale of cunning defiance and an eternal struggle against fate. At its core, it is the legend of a man condemned to an eternity of pushing a massive boulder up a hill, only for it to roll back down every time he nears the top. But beyond its surface, this myth has fascinated writers and philosophers for centuries, serving as a metaphor for human perseverance, the absurdity of life, and the unbreakable spirit of existence itself. Sisyphus, the cunning king of Corinth. Sisyphus was the ruler of Ephyra, the city that would later be known as Corinth. He was not just any king. He was renowned for his exceptional intelligence, but also for his deceit. The earliest references to Sisyphus appear in Homer's Odyssey, where he is described as the craftiest of men. Later, the Greek poet Pindar recounts how Sisyphus angered Zeus by revealing the location of Aegina, a maiden whom Zeus had abducted. In exchange for revealing this secret, Sisyphus demanded that her father, the river god Sisyphus, reward him with a fresh water spring for his city. This act of betrayal infuriated Zeus, sealing Sisyphus's fate as an enemy of the gods. Sisyphus and the trickery of death. Sisyphus' defiance did not stop there. He also tricked Thanatos, the god of death. The Roman author Hyginus, in his collection of myths titled Fabulae, describes how Thanatos was sent to chain Sisyphus and take him to the underworld. However, Sisyphus, always the trickster, pretended to be fascinated by the chains. He convinced Thanatos to demonstrate how they worked. The moment Thanatos bound himself, Sisyphus seized the opportunity and imprisoned him. With death itself locked away, no one on earth could die. Soldiers struck down in battle remained standing, and the natural order was thrown into chaos. The god of war, Ares, grew frustrated as his battles lost their purpose. Furious, he freed Thanatos and personally ensured that Sisyphus was taken to the underworld. The ultimate trick, cheating the underworld. But even death was not enough to keep Sisyphus trapped. The ancient historian Apollodorus, in his work Bibliotheca, records another act of deception. Before dying, Sisyphus instructed his wife, Merope, not to perform the sacred burial rites. Once in the underworld, he used this as an excuse to plead with Persephone, the queen of the dead. He claimed that he had been dishonored and must return to the world of the living to correct the mistake. Moved by his argument, Persephone allowed him to return to life. But Sisyphus had no intention of coming back. He continued living as if he had never died. Eventually, the gods lost patience. This time, they ensured that there would be no escape. The eternal punishment. For his repeated defiance, Sisyphus was condemned to Tartarus, the deepest abyss of the underworld. There he was given his eternal task, to roll a massive boulder up a steep hill. But just as he neared the top, the rock would slip from his grasp and tumble back down, forcing him to start again. The Roman poet Ovid, in his epic Metamorphoses, paints a haunting picture of this punishment, describing the endless repetition and frustration. Other ancient sources, like the Greek historian Pausanias, saw the myth as a moral lesson, a warning against defying the gods. And yet, despite these interpretations, there was something unique about Sisyphus. He was not just another tragic figure. Even in his suffering, he was different. Albert Camus and the absurd hero. Thousands of years later, the French philosopher Albert Camus reinterpreted Sisyphus' story in a completely new way. In his 1942 essay titled The Myth of Sisyphus, Camus presented Sisyphus not as a victim, but as a symbol of human existence itself. Camus argued that life mirrors Sisyphus's punishment. We wake up, we work, we struggle, we search for meaning, only to do it all again the next day. Like Sisyphus, we are trapped in a cycle of endless effort, knowing that our ultimate fate is inevitable. And yet Camus did not see this as a reason for despair. Instead, he proposed a radical idea that Sisyphus could find freedom in his struggle. The moment he accepted his fate, he was no longer just a prisoner of the gods. He became a defiant hero, choosing to push the boulder despite its futility. Camus famously concludes his essay with a simple yet powerful statement: one must imagine Sisyphus happy. The significance of Sisyphus today. The myth of Sisyphus has endured for thousands of years because it speaks to something universal. It is a story about the tension between fate and free will, between suffering and perseverance. Some see it as a warning against arrogance. Others view it as a reflection of modern life, where we work tirelessly toward uncertain goals. But perhaps the greatest lesson of Sisyphus is that even in the face of endless struggle, we can still find meaning. Even when the boulder rolls back down, we can keep going. In that simple act of pushing forward, we find strength. The gods may have condemned Sisyphus, but they did not break him. And perhaps in his endless ascent, we see a reflection of our own lives. A struggle that is both painful and beautiful, an existence that is both absurd and extraordinary. So, Sisyphus must go on, not because he hopes for an end, but because in his struggle he finds meaning. His fate is no longer a mere punishment. It is a testament to resilience, to endurance, to the undying will of the human spirit. And so, through ages and eons to come, Sisyphus will keep moving forward, pushing his boulder, embracing his fate. But what does that struggle feel like? What does it mean to exist in an endless cycle, bound by both suffering and purpose? Perhaps in verse we can glimpse the weight of his journey. Oh, Sisyphus must go on, for all good from life is gone. Massive burden of heavy grief, with no distant sight of relief. Sisyphus carries the mighty stone in the cruel desert all alone. Up the hill of endless sorrow, neither yesterday nor tomorrow. Pebble of final scene still stabs, the thorny thickets of could-haves, the slippery ebbs of high rocks, inevitable truth of weedlocks. Oh, poor Sisyphus falls again, in the perpetual brutish pain. Once more does the rock tumble, the abyss thus roars rocky rumble. Cursed, wounded, wretched being, tugging along the heavy string, hung from the weak, weary heart, rolling stone tearing all apart. Run, Sisyphus. Oh, he must go on from every dusk to every dawn, the same cruel scene all around, merciless truth of pitiful bound. Again down the rugged way, till time's end on the doomsday. Lay still through the teary sight, the evil desert burning bright. The cruel stone, ever so massive, fresh memories vivid, aggressive. Same stabbing pebbles once more, piercing thorny shrubs lay abore. Same little flower of the last dinner swings timid in pity of the sinner. The bloody path carpeted in sweat, each turn with more lethal threat. Yet again in the raging sun, oh Sisyphus, you must run. For ages and eons to come by, Sisyphus will keep dragging high. Once Sisyphus, moving along, trips on grim thoughts known for long. Sisyphus cannot yet recall when in eternally absurd fall, he lost sight of the cursed pity that he was bound till eternity. Just for one fleeting second, the breeze hugs like an old friend. For one bit, Sisyphus smiles, an instant amid many hexed miles, as the small flower of the last laugh before the last was known well enough. Swinging timid in the gentle breeze, one moment of blessed release. From the eternal task of carrying on, for Sisyphus must go on. Oh, Sisyphus saunters along, like the great sages he belongs, in the might of accepted fate, having no love and yet no hate. In no pleasure and yet no pain, great Sisyphus marches again. Carrying mighty rock to the sky, Sisyphus rises ever so high. Great freedom of eternal duty trumps all pain and divine beauty. In the horrid curse of brutal pity, Sisyphus glows in self-dignity. Exists no soul in heaven or hell who can lift rocks so elegantly well. In all the ages and empires to come, immortal thus Sisyphus become. To lead all life on earth hereon, Sisyphus must keep moving on. The story of Sisyphus is more than just a tale from ancient Greece. It is a mirror of our own existence, a reflection of the struggles we all face. Each day we push our own boulders, some heavier than others, some with seemingly no end in sight. Yet as Camus reminds us, in that very struggle, there is a kind of freedom. What do you think? Is Sisyphus truly cursed, or is he, in some way, victorious? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe to Mentis Moto, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep questioning, keep pushing forward, and keep embracing the absurd.